What is up, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. This is the Mezzabarba Custom Amplification Trinity. It's an EL34 powered 100 watt 3-channel amplifier that's extremely versatile. I would say it takes you from all the way from really beautiful, pristine clean to that classic AC/DC crunch, to that, modified Marshall sound, all the way over to like a hot, like super defined, I'm just going to say it, ballsy overdrive in channel 3. So just getting right into it, as I mentioned, 3-channel amplifier. Channel 1 has its own gain and volume, and then bass, mid, treb tone stack. Channel 2 has its own drive and volume, but it shares the bass, mid, and treb tone stack with channel 3. And speaking of channel 3 does have its own overdrive and volume control, so you can balance the channels. Now, if we look over to the right of the amplifier, we've got some buttons here. The top row chooses between the channels. The bottom row, you have a bright switch, a boost switch, and a master switch. Now, that master switch will allow you to toggle between 2 different masters, and we'll get into that in just a second. You have a program switch because this amp is fully MIDI programmable, which is amazing. You can take full advantage of all the features on this amplifier. And then it also has an effects loop that can be turned on and off as well. Now, on the back panel, there's 5 controls. You have a presence control, you have a depth control, a feedback control, and then 2 separate, what I would call master volumes or system volume controls, the global controls. Now, at first I was a little put off by the fact that there were 5 controls back there when I first saw this amplifier, but that mindset was quickly squelched when I found I could just basically set those up at noon across the board and dial everything in and have it actually sound fine, and then just do further sculpting. And for the most part, I left everything at noon. That's how I liked the amp the best. But we'll get into how those controls sound. I'm going to do a short segment so you guys can hear all that and understand what's going on with this amp. It came all the way out from Italy, so it was a long trip, but I really enjoyed getting to know this amp and writing a song for it and demoing it for you guys. So without further ado, let's check out the Mezzabarba Trinity. Okay, let's get started. We got a lot of ground to cover. I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to go between the 3 channels. So I'm going to start with channel 1 clean, then we'll bump to channel 2 and channel 3, and we'll go through some of these features and dial some controls. So here's the way I have it dialed up right now for a clean tone. So it's a really sweet clean. It will break up a little bit if I hit it with the back humbucker as opposed to a bridge position single coil. But the way it breaks up is really it's got a cool vintage breakup. So it won't really break up with like a neck position pickup, but if you do happen to hit it with like a bridge position humbucker that's a little hotter, it'll definitely give a little bit of breakup. Now, the other thing you can do for even more breakup is you can add the boost switch. We'll turn that on. Now you've got kind of that vintage I mean, that's really dynamic sounding. The feel on it is really nice. It's not stiff at all, which I'm not used to when you boost a clean channel that's efficient like this one on a 100 watt amplifier. And I haven't even touched the bass, mid, and treb for this channel. If we want it to be brighter, I'll go back with the boost off. So here's just the clean channel, no features on. If I add the bright, it gets really chimey. And I hear a bit of upper mids there too. And then if we add the boost to that, got a little bit more kind of bite and cut up top. Sounds really great. I'll just roll these controls real quick. So between these controls and just these front panel features like the bright and the boost, you can really get a ton of tone out of just the clean channel. Even if we wanted even more gain, you can totally do that. Now we'll go to channel 2 and check out how I have that dialed. Now we're over here. Channel 2 and channel 3 share the same controls. And of course there is a separate volume, obviously, for the output of you know, the channel 2 and channel 3, but they share the same bass, mid, treb. So the way I've got it dialed right now, I've got it dialed a little bit darker in the treble because I want to make a little bit of a point about how the boost and bright works on this amplifier. Like, this is a good crunch tone. And actually, this is the sound that I used for that solo. Feels really just, once again, it's dynamic. Now the reason I've got the treble set here, I'm finding that I like things at around 6 on this amp. I've got the bass rolled back just a little bit for this sound. But what sounds really great is to employ the bright switch. Now I've got the top end I want, if I need it. The reason I'm keeping the treble at around 4 for now is because when you employ the boost on this channel, it does add some top end. As well as gain. But what I learned is, because this is programmable, what I would probably do is when I switch to channel 2, if I really want the top end, I can have it automatically come on with that bright switch. But then via the foot switch or programming, I can shut the bright off and hit the boost for like a solo sound. Without feeling like somehow I have to get over and change that treble setting to be right for the solo sound. And that's exactly what I did for the second solo section where I used my PRS. I just turned on the boost. That's all that happened there, and I just switched guitars. And it was dialed pretty similar. Now, without those switches employed, you know, if I wanted to bark a little more, I can go ahead and bump mid and treb. If I want more gain. You know, so it's a super dialable amplifier. between the features here and what you've got going just in the EQ, you can get quite a bit of tone out of this amp. I guess what I'm mumbling on about is that it's very versatile. Okay, so that's channel 2. Let's bump to channel 3 now. Now, channel 3 does sound a little more modern to me. It's got a really vintage feel though, but it still will stay tight. There's more gain. It's got more top end and low end, just switching from channel to channel. It's got a lot of gain on tap, as you can tell. So without even touching the overdrive, I've got it on 5 right now. Let's just turn on the boost. So in this case, the boost isn't adding a ton of gain, but it's making it feel and sound a bit more saturated. Turn on the bright. More sizzly up top. With the boost. Shut all this stuff off and just dial from the front panel. Obviously that's, that's so much overdrive, and then if you add, boost to that and what have you, I mean, you're not going to run out of gain, I don't think, with this amplifier. So that's the 3 channels. One thing I do want to point out really quick is when we go back to that clean channel, sometimes going from there to even just channel 2, kind of tough. Once you've got your channel gains sorted out, or say, for this channel, you can see I've got the volume a lot hotter than these channels. And let's say for this channel, I want to be on my neck position, or maybe in the second position. But I can't quite get it loud enough with the way I've got everything structured, because I may really be digging where I've got these volumes set and how they sound. That's where the dual master that I mentioned in the talking points comes into play, because what I can do is for the first channel, you can see how there's my crunch channel, but when I go back to the clean, it's not quite as loud as I'd like it to be, so I can employ the second master. So on the back, I've got basically everything is 12 o'clock on the back of the amp, but I've got that master control the second master up just a little bit. So if I need more volume for a particular channel, or just in the way I've got things structured, I can employ the switchable masters to solve that problem. Okay, so that's how the amp sounds front panel. What I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to turn the amp around. I'm just going to pick one channel and I'm going to roll those controls on the back, specifically the feedback, depth, and presence, just quickly so you guys have an idea of what's going on there. So give me just a second. Okay, I've got the amp turned around. I just want to show you guys the controls on the back panel really quick, specifically the three that I mentioned before. I'm on channel 2, and I'm just going to play briefly, and I'm just going to roll these up and down. I'll start with the feedback. Gets more aggressive sounding as you roll it up. As I roll it down, a little more controlled. I liked it pretty much dead center. That's where I left it. We'll do presence. Same thing, I liked it in the center, but it's, you know, it's for further sculpting your tone, you know, matching to the guitar, the cabinet you're using. If you're in a really bright room, you can reach for that first before you start messing with how you have your channels dialed. And then the depth is obvious. I'll roll it all the way off. And then all the way up. Ooh, all the way up is almost too much for my rig. It adds a lot of, obviously a lot of low end. And I had it, you know, pretty much noon. Masters are self-explanatory. But yeah, I just didn't want to, you know, neglect this part of the amp. I wanted to make sure you guys were able to check that out as well. So, as always, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you've got any further questions about this amplifier, go to the website and check it out. And we will see you next time.